We are now live, Stacey. Hello, everyone. It's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday here in New Zealand, and you are here with me, Joanne Webb, and him, Stacey Taylor. We are the Sacred Relationship Lab. How you doing, Stacey?
Good. How you been, Joanne?
I'm good. I'm really enjoying these episodes. I feel like they're getting stronger and stronger, don't you?
Yeah, I noticed like a lot more people commenting. I've had a few people dropping in my inbox, starting to have the courage to just even ask questions about coaching or life issues, not necessarily questions, but also getting questions and then also seeing themes. There's sort of a theme I've seen that with some of my clients this week, and it's interesting. So now I'm really enjoying it, eh?
Should we just dive in with a question?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Do you want me to do mine first?
Yeah, go for it.
It's from a woman, and she says, does there always have to be an offset? And I delved deeper. I was like, what does that mean? Well, she's like, well, the relationship's great a majority of the time, but there's this bit that's happening that I don't really like. Does there always have to be an offset in relationships?
Interesting. I think you'll only find an offset where there's something to work on, right? So where the areas of the relationship are flowing and they're in alignment and they're easy, they're effortless, then you're obviously in alignment in that space. But if you're finding an offset or a roadblock in there, that's where your work is. So, and it's often the one thing we kind of don't want to go towards. It's the one thing that we're like, oh, but all that's great. But deep down, that's the one thing that's really being mirrored back for us to resolve. So I think if you're in relationship with another person, I don't care how much work you've done on yourself, there's gonna be challenges. The thing I've learned is the longer you leave it, the worse it gets. So go towards it. Like it's never comfortable, but if you've got that kind of relationship, then hopefully you can actually sit down and have a conversation or go and get some help on it because it's just part of relating. We're going to have these things come up and we've got to sort of work through them to resolve them so that we can move beyond that.
Yeah. I agree. And when I work with either individuals, because there are lots of individuals who come to me for coaching, I'm sure you're the same, talk about their relationships
Yeah.
because we know that that's mirroring stuff within them. So they might come and go, well, I'm loving this, and this, but there's this wrong. And I always say, we've got to also be careful, especially when I deal with couples, because I can explain to both of them when they're there together. Say if like 95 of your percent of your relationship seems perfect, you laugh together, you have similar interests, you are happy for each other to succeed and all of that great stuff. You support each other's families, whatever, you've got similar values. Awesome. That's a great foundation. But if you do not work on that 5%, that's not perfect. It will infiltrate the other 95% of your relationship. And I know for the fact that's happened to me in the past. I've had relationships which have seemed good, but then there's been something there. And I've
Mm,
wanted to ignore it or wanted to hope it would go away when we became more settled or something. And it never goes away.
no.
It never goes away. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And even though you may only fall out or there might be an issue, it's there for a reason, as you said, Stacey. It's there to show you something, whether it's, do you need better boundaries? Do you need to learn how to communicate better? Do you need to both talk about if you're on the same wavelength on certain areas? Does your partner need to have some work done? Do you need to go to have further work with how you're receiving? It's there to show you something, but if it gets ignored, that 5% will overtake the other 95% and it will no longer seem beautiful and amazing.
Yeah, and one of the themes I've noticed with working with couples too is resentment creeps in.
Exactly.
And resentment is a insidious, nasty emotion to carry, and the way I see it is anger being resent to yourself because you're not actually speaking your truth and facing it. So that's where that resentment creeps in, and then that gets really hot. And so, yeah, like there's always going to be polarity. There's always going to be positive and negative. You want to try and get that balance, but like Joanne said, that 5%, that one thing that's irking you, that you don't want to talk about, you don't want to rock the boat because you don't want to upset the other. It's going to drown you slowly over time. So Don't allow the resentment to creep in. Just go towards it. Like, go towards it and see if you can find some resolution with it.
Yeah, and you know, either way, it's going to tell you a story. It's going to tell you whether it's a relationship worth keeping or not. And the question was, does there always have to be an offset? It was a great way of putting it, I guess. But you know, I believe because we're always evolving, if you and your partner are not going to evolve at the same time, which is pretty much difficult to do, isn't it? It's pretty much impossible to evolve at the same pace. There's always going to be little things that come up, and that's why learning the art of communication so you can both hear each other, because that's the part problem with a lot of it. People speak and then is heard how they interpret it, not how it is meant to be interpreted. So I say this beautiful thing, you know, say what did you hear then? You know, say, oh, you've really upset me, rather than go, well, I didn't mean to do that, blah 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 blah, because you don't even know why they're upset. Say, what did you hear? And let them explain it, and then say it back in their words, and make sure you are speaking the same language, because you're going to evolve at different states. Your dreams and goals might change. They probably will change over time, but it's about always communicating, having calm, beautiful communication, making sure you can hear and listen to each other and respect each other. And I truly believe everything can be overcome if you're in that state.
Yeah, that's such a valid point. Like, because one thing I've noticed is 90, unless you've done some work on yourself, you're not actually relating from your mature adult psychology. So you're actually reacting from that wounded child who has a narrative running about the experience. I just had this with a client. I'm working with a husband and wife separately. And from the beginning, she said, oh, all I want him to do is love me and be affectionate. And then in the third session today, we cracked open that she wasn't actually available for it. She was not available for it. So she was seeing the mirror of that in her own relationship and sort of, you know, trying to get it, but she wasn't available. Soon as she's seen it and the like lights went on, she's like had this huge release, and then realized when she's available and when she's not, and just started dissolving it. So you're not actually, like Joanne touched on a bit of gold there, you're not hearing what they're saying, you're hearing your narrative around what they're saying, and it's always negative, and it always feels like a personal attack.
And we usually want somebody to give us what we need to give ourselves first. Whatever we're searching for in another person, if we want that love and affection, of course she's not open to it if she's not giving it to herself first. And if we can't honor ourselves and give things to ourselves, how can we possibly even begin to be fulfilled by another person? Because we don't believe in it. Even when they do give it to us, even if their partner was being loving and affectionate, it's not enough, because it's never going to be enough, because you're blocking it yourself. So anything you are searching for or requiring from your partner, your friend, your mum, your brother, your sister, have a look. Are you giving that to yourself? Because I think this is where a lot of relationships go. You know, we go, oh, I love you. And then we're like, or we want them to really love us. And they do, perhaps, but we don't believe in that love. We can't possibly trust that they could love us, because how could they possibly love us when we do not love ourselves?
I share this all the time, you know, like when you're born, your natural frequency is love. Your heart's in there, and you're this. Look at any kids; they're an open bundle of joy and love.
Love them.
Then you go through life and you go through experiences that you put things in front of love, right? You lose the awareness of love. So you put things, and they're always lower frequency: guilt, shame, resentment, anger, fear, humiliation, whatever it is. And then from a young age, you're watching all the Disney cartoons, all the romantic movies that literally tell you love's outside of yourself. It's in that man, it's in that woman. Think about the lines, I can't live without you, you complete me, in all the famous movies. So when we start losing, we feel like we're losing love, we change that frequency to fear, and now we're trying to get something, when all you need to realize is that you were generating it and it was being mirrored back to you. And you know, one thing I've come to realize is it's such a hard concept to grasp when you haven't done the work. It's near impossible to see it when you haven't done the work. But it's not until you do one session with Joanne or myself and the fucking blinders come off and you go, fuck, I'm manifesting that, or I've been creating that. So just remember, you can't get love, you can't create abundance. All you can create is lack and limitation in front of your natural state of being. And that's what's being revealed to you in the offset.
Yeah. I think we'll talk more about that later because I've got more to go into later. I've got something to discuss. So we'll let you do your question first.
So it's more a theme, and it's a theme I've noticed with people either breaking up in relationships or single. And a lot of my clients are saying the sex is meaningless outside. You know, they're at single and they're going out and they're having sex. And even some of the guys that I'm working with are like I'll get this incredible woman, and then as soon as she's in my bed, I don't want her. Why is that?
Why is that?
Mm.
Because it's not the connection that you're really searching for. That's why. You know, I think sex has been used as an unhealthy tool for way too long.
Yeah.
It's very much like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, isn't it? They've all been used in an unhealthy form in one way or another over too many years. Yeah. As an avoidance or as an escapism, as something to try and make people feel connected. But when we are not in our own bodies, when we are not embodied in love and self-worth and self-honor, and actually when we do not understand the sacredness of sex, it is meaningless. Let's face it, any of us could go out every single night that we can have sex with a different person. It's available. It is literally available. But it's meaningless and it's soulless. And I think when we actually do have sex, you remember that's a possibility where two souls can combine and magic can happen. But if your soul is out there and their soul is out there, it's going to mean absolutely nothing, literally zero. And I think we're coming to this energy in this world, which is where we're at now. The ascension has happened. We are moving up this scale. Those low dense things, those old patterns of behavior are falling apart. That's why people are having much less sex, because they don't know how to have the meaningful sex, the soul aligned, full of passion, allow your body to truly feel every ounce of joy sex. Because there's been way too much shame, there's been way too much guilt. As I say, it's been used in the wrong context. We are now here, as we have always been, for love and connection, but at a soul level, not at a meaningless connection.
Oh, dropped the mic. Couldn't have even said it any better. So that was incredible. One of the things I want people to realize is that anything they've made easily accessible is for the downfall of you, right? So just look how, like Joanne said, how easy it is to get sex now with Tinder and all the sites, pornography, alcohol shops, anything that they want to bring us down in levels is going to be easily accessible. And sex is no different, right? But one of the distinguishing things I want you to understand that I shared with one of my clients is men have got it backwards in this space. They're trying to take from the woman. That's backwards. So you're actually trying to take from something that you're meant to give. You've gone inverted, right? This is why you feel empty, why it feels meaningless, why it actually leaves you feeling more empty, because if you understand as a man, you're meant to give to the woman, you penetrate her, right? And in giving to her, she opens and you receive. And so you've got it backwards. So even for the woman, it's not just men now, it's really out of control with the woman just sleeping around seeking that external something that's going to fill that void within you. It will leave you feeling meaningless. It will leave you feeling empty. It will leave you feeling, depressed, isolated, because you're trying to get something that you can only cultivate in here. And once you cultivate it, the woman, you won't give it away to a man that's not conscious. You won't. And the men won't want the woman that doesn't have that that he doesn't have that connection with, right? So that's where the emptiness is coming from, because you're just seeking something externally that you need to actually work on and reveal internally. And once you reveal it, like Joanne said, you start to form a connection that is greater than sex itself. It's actually the container of manifestation, if you look at it, because if a man and woman come together, that's a baby, potentially, right? But that energy is actually life force creation. This is why I say a man should be on point on purpose. Then if he's honoring that, has the right woman in his life, they come together, that sexual energy can be transmuted into the vision for their life. And so when you're using that energy recklessly, you're going to end up, because like you said, we've never been, and I was thinking about this yesterday, I'm like, look at all the shit we're taught. And we are not taught about the actual dynamics of relationships, the power of the sexual connection, the power of our soul. And we're having to learn this in real time. And this is why it's so harsh.
I agree. And like, if you want some tips on how to have great sex, it doesn't start with sex.
Nah.
It always starts with yourself. You know, it's about learning to be in your body and to really be in your body and to feel every emotion. That's, you know, feel every emotion that comes through, because otherwise you are suppressing stuff. And when we suppress stuff, everything gets clogged inside. There's no flow throughout our body. And, you know, sex is about magic. It's about the Kundalini release. And it's, as you say, it's this life force energy. It's like you've just plugged into the power grid when you're doing it correctly. Like, it's euphoric. It's utopia. And that's what's available to each and every one of us when we allow ourselves to do that, when we allow ourselves to feel rage, when we allow ourselves to feel resentment and to understand where it's come from, to allow ourselves to be in joy and bliss and enlightenment and in the energy of love. But we have to honor all of those emotions from the densest to the highest, and then embody who we are as humans. Who the fuck are you? Who are you? What are your values? What do you stand by? What makes your soul light up? What fills you with joy every day? What drains you energetically? Do you even know yourself? And when awkward, terrible things happen, are you okay to stay in that body, or do you try to escape? Because if you escape, then sex is not going to work for you either, because it's just another tool. It's about learning to be, and to be the most amazing, unique, fabulous version of yourself that you can be. Taking ownership of your life, being in the driving seat, knowing that you are responsible no matter what has happened to you in the past, no matter the shittiest things in the world happen to you. That's okay. You can get through that because you've already got through it. How now do you want to change it? How do you want to heal from it? And how do you want to go forward in empowerment and in glory and in joy, rather than in victimhood or by turning off your emotions? Do you know where we are now in this age? We're here to feel everything, and that is what we are here to do as humans.
And the one thing you can't fake is your nervous system response. So you can fake what you speak, you can fake your body language, but you cannot fake your internal state, which is transmitted through your nervous system. This is why I keep coming back to doing the inner work. I'll come back to this couple that I'm working with. You know, they've brought up the living nightmares over the last few weeks with me. And the other night, the guy messaged me and he said, "Oh, my partner's raging." Like, and I said to her, "It's got nothing to do with the problems. Just go and see her and ask her, can I hold you?" And he literally said, "Oh, I'm scared to do that." And I said, "Yeah, I know." He put the phone down and he went in and he said, "Can I just hold you?" And she even told me, my mouth hit the floor, and she said, "That's all I want." And she said within 60 seconds she was giggling like a little girl and melting into his arms. And he messaged me and he's like, "That simple?" But I said, well, the first step was you weren't triggered. So you could create space and realize, oh, and I said, there's the intimacy, there's the safety within that container that, wow, this man can do this for me even in my biggest emotional storm. On the other side, she's not attacking me. Like, if you can do that with your woman and just hold her, that's creating safety. And when that safety comes, the experience will be fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And it's really funny because I've heard this thing the other day and I wanted to discuss it in this container. And it just flows so beautifully with everything we've just said. So, like, let's face it, women and men, we're not the same.
No.
We're not the same. Stop trying to be the same. Stop it for starters. But this is what I heard, and I just want to read it word for word how it was said. If a guy feels, I would love to take care of her for the rest of my life, whatever I can do for her, I'll do. That's the feeling a man has in response to a woman. And then the woman thinks, I trust this guy. I will follow him. I will support him. I'll be right behind him no matter what he wants to do. And that's what it should feel like to be a woman when you're with the man. And then, because the man is the giver, the provider, the woman is the emotional. She is the emotional. Women feel emotions in a different way than men. They respond to emotions differently. We are more emotional beings. I'm not saying men do not have emotions. Let's get this straight. And then to be intimate is to trust each other completely. Because without that trust, without her knowing that she has him, he has her, and without him knowing that she trusts him, what's it going to do? It's going to create a position where they hold back, a little hold back for a little bit of protection, for self-preservation. And there's going to be a little bit of discomfort. There's going to be, it's just going to feel not 100%. But when you've got this beautiful energy, then that's when relationships flourish. Now, these are not my words, but I'm just open as a container to have this discussion about these words.
That's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard, right? When it comes to the dynamics of masculine, feminine relationship, I say the unspoken language between man and woman is a healed masculine man is your mind. And on the other side is I'm yours. So the woman is I'm yours, right? This is what we're speaking to. And this is a beautiful thing. This is something that's been warped and twisted and bent in our world, that if a woman trusts a man, she's weak, or, and if a man gives him, goes all in with this woman, he's vulnerable. But when, like I always say to the men, if a man is right, his world will be right. Right? If you're right, your world will be right. But when this is something that is so powerful, that's biological, that when I claim you as a man, I'm saying I want to provide for you, I want to protect you, I want to hold you, and I want to recreate with you if that's on the cards, if you haven't gone on in life. But a true man in his mature psychology, he wants that. And your whole hormonal chemical balance will change in accordance with that. So, like, even today, I was just researching, right, that if a man's having meaningful sex with a woman that he loves, he'll create the hormone prolactin, and that will stop him. He can't look at another woman. He can't even look at porn.
Mm-hmm.
This is how biological. Her estrogen will come up, which will be more feminine. He'll be more attracted, right? And so this is all getting warped out of thing, and this is what we want. But we can't do it until we heal that childhood psychology. It's impossible. I work with hundreds of people a year, and the more I go, the more I realize that you're not going to force your way into a relationship that you want. Life's going to break you down into releasing what's in front of your natural state, right? Because biologically, the women want to be women and the men want to be men.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
why are they messing with that in schools through the transgender, and why are they messing with the natural flow of the universe of God? Now, if you become an adult and make your own decision, power to you. But if we're conditioning our children to go against the natural energies of their being, they're going to suffer.
And it was really interesting because then the chap who said this went on to say, if it's the other way round, you're in trouble. And to be honest with you, Stacey, I usually see it the other way round. Don't you?
Not 99% of people come to me, the woman's become the mother, and the man's become the child.
Yeah, and she's the mother, but in a more masculine way, isn't she? She's a mother because she's controlling everything and she's holding everything together. She is the one taking care of him
Yeah.
and doing whatever she can for him. She's trying to be the savior. And I was talking about this earlier. We're no longer in the old 3D energy of somebody being the savior and somebody being the victim. We're all here. There is no savior. There is no victim. We are here. So it's self-righteous to even think we can be the savior. That's the ego being bold and wanting self-importance and wanting to feel worthy.
Yep.
Again, there's something that needs healing. There's a childhood wound there that needs healing if you feel you need to save everyone. And as for women, if you cannot lean into that trust, yes, we've lived in a misogynistic world, but it's about time to connect with that feminine power, that feminine flow, that feminine magnetism. Because you've got all of that inside you without even having a partner. You've got that trust, that level of, you can trust in yourself, you can trust in the universe. And once you start embodying that, it becomes much easier to allow yourself to be the woman who can be held, the woman who can be supported by him. And look, these words, don't get worried about the words. I trust this guy, I will follow him, I will support him. It doesn't mean you can't have your career. It doesn't mean you can't go and shine in your light. It doesn't mean that. But we take so much meaning from actual words. When you look at the essence behind these words, they are so powerful and beautiful. And it's the man holding his woman. But as he's holding her, she's holding him right back.
Yeah. I share this, like a lot of women want a masculine man and a lot of men want a feminine woman, but you don't understand what comes with that, right? If you have a feminine woman, you're going to have the emotions of a feminine woman who's surrendered. The analogy I use is men want to be the mountain. They're just there, they're just stoic, they don't move. And then the woman will be the sun on it some days. She'll be the storm on it some days. She'll be the lightning on it some. Can you contain that as a man? Can you contain that feminine woman that you ask for? And then on the other side of that, for the woman that want a masculine man, can you handle a man who says no? Can you handle a man who has strong boundaries? Can you handle a man who's on point, on purpose, who won't dip to every whim? He's there, he's safe, but he's also got boundaries and honors you and himself. So this is the beauty of this. We get to come back to this, because when I seen this, that I was relating from the psychology of anywhere from a 5-year-old to a 13-year-old in my romantic relationships, fuck, it hit me so hard. Like, I'm like, oh, you thought you were masculine because you had the job, you had the money, you had the cars, the boats, the life. Man, you just didn't even have a clue about what masculinity is. And even if we look at the world right now, it's bravado, it's grunt. That's one aspect.
It was a little bit like me when the old saying is, oh, you marry your father. Well, I was like, that hasn't happened to me. But trust me, that realization, I was marrying the bits that I wanted and needed to heal, that I wanted the attention from my dad when I was young. I wanted to feel important. So I married people who mirrored that energy. I needed to feel important. And I really so wanted this person to fill that void for me. So it's not that I married my dad, but you marry the versions of your dad, the parts of you that perhaps he couldn't give you, and he never could for one reason or another. And you're right, you're operating from this little girl or this little boy. And I operated way too long from this little girl. And, lo and behold, here I am now 47 and in a healthy relationship. But it took me quite a while to get to one. I kidded myself. I thought some of them were healthy.
Yeah.
And I lost parts of myself, and I begged and I pleaded and I so desperately wanted stuff. But what was I ultimately doing? I was there taking care of him and all of his needs.
That's it. And when you come together, there's the absence of your childhood wounding, so you feel wholeness. This is the trap and the liberation. So when it starts to fracture and break apart, there's a part of you that thinks you got it from that individual. So you try to get it back and it's getting worse, but there's the ego holds on to the illusion of, what if I never get that back? If you just realize that if you go and heal those wounds, you'll get it back, and then you attract the frequency of what it is that you really want. Every person I've worked with this year in relationship container, they call in the parent that they have the most unresolved trauma with, and what they're lacking or seeking externally is mirrored back, and it's like a spitting image. There's no different. And it's a bitter pill to swallow, because then you've got to look at yourself and heal what's underneath that. And then sometimes you'll come out of that and go, oh wow, love is actually blind. I was never actually attracted to that person. I was attracted to the frequency of what I wasn't getting from my dad.
Yeah.
I was
And it's so
attracted
funny,
to
isn't it?
that.
When you leave a relationship or move forward and you then do your healing, you look back and you go, and it seems like such a foreign place. It's like you don't even recognize it, because the version of who you are as that healed version can't really even understand that anymore. It's like, wow, why, how did that even happen? But it happened because it, as you say, it's unresolved.
Yeah. And then some people find a deeper connection. They find a deeper connection, they resolve it, but whatever path is yours is yours. But like you said, like, you know, unconscious, like I used to, I heard this word maybe once or twice before I stepped into the space, and I never really understood it. Like, nah, there's no way there's stuff in your fucking past that's being recreated in your future. Fuck, you're in control of your destiny. You can do whatever you want. Biggest trap, biggest trap on planet Earth. If they just told the kids from the beginning that trap, we'd all be free. But like you said, we're coming into that space now. We're actually doing the work and taking back our power, even as parents. We're not trusting the school system or the education system. And I don't say teachers, because there's some beautiful teachers, but that system that wants to put our kids in a box that conditions them. We're starting to take back our power. And it's a process, because we still have to work and make money, and we still need our children to go somewhere. But we're conscious of it now, and we're taking more control in those areas. And I think that's where we'll really see the growth in humanity, is that we're now conscious of these things. It's going to take time to resolve, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I agree. And I believe, wouldn't it be lovely if we could get every single person at like age 25 or something just to go into like a boot camp for 3 months just to heal? Like, come on now, it's like, let's do this. And then you're going to go off and you're going to live the rest of your life. But unfortunately, it's not like that at the minute. But it would be really handy if that's what happened.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've really got big on is creating strong men, independent, financially independent men that can keep their wife at home if she chooses, to raise their children until they're 7.
Yeah.
To create an environment where there's love, there's nurturing, there's safety, there's protection, there's provision, that they can actually have those children in their frequency in the most valuable times in their life, that are actually creating that individual's blueprint. And I think that's one of the things that I've just really realized, is that, we need men that can be strong physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially on point, on purpose, so that they can give their wife and their family the opportunity to make a decision.
Yeah, no, I love that. But and then on the flip side, it's the woman, to be happy to do that as well. Because I think there's so much pressure, you've got to you've kind of got to work, you've got to do this, you've got to keep up your career. There's so many 3D pressures.
Yeah.
But and I know for me, if I wasn't in a place of self-worth when I had my children when I was young, so there I was being a mum, which I believe is literally the most important job in the world. If you're literally passing on all of your nervous system to your children, and all of your beliefs and your stories and your conditioning, your programming and your morals and your values, and the good stuff as well as the bad stuff. But if you're not in that place where you are steady, where you are safe in your own body, like everything we talked about at the beginning, where you are connected to your soul, where you have done some inner work, where you truly love yourself, then that grounding for your children is going to be unstable, and they will have to go on to do more work on themselves, because they're not being given the solid foundation. Whereas, if there's a man who is in his power, in his masculine power, and a woman in her feminine power, and then they have children, well, there's going to be a hell of a lot less damage done to those children. Of course, life's never perfect. We can't speak everybody's love language. We can't meet everybody's needs every single day. We can do the most innocent of things and our children can take on stuff. But at least you are living more consciously from that place of soul and heart.
Yeah, that's beautiful, right? It's something to remember. No matter how much work you did, your kids came here, their soul came here for a lesson, and you were going to be the teacher of that lesson. But we
Mm-hmm.
can actually start to minimize the damage. And instead of trying to fix our children, which is a huge thing in the world right now, like I see it, men trying to fix and change their children and push them to be everything that they're not, they'll always become the energetic version of you, no matter how hard you push them. If you want to create change, be the change that you want to see so your kids can pick up the frequency of it and embody that frequency and go on to live their purpose or follow their dreams. But you're never going to play out your dreams through your children or save them from your pain by trying to push them to be something greater than you think you should have been,
Yeah.
So it's a journey.
I know, it's like when most parents say, I want my children to be healthy and happy. Well, are you healthy and happy? Always ask yourself the question, whatever you want for your kids, make sure, ask yourself and be honest. Are you providing that for yourself? Do
Yeah.
you believe in that? If you want your children to be healthy and happy, am I healthy and happy? Am I truly healthy and happy? And you've got to answer it from the most brutal, honest place that you can.
If you're thriving, they'll thrive, especially for the men out there. If you're thriving, everyone around you will thrive. If you're not, they will be struggling. Your wife will have anxiety, she'll have depression, she'll have alcohol issues, whatever it is, panic attacks. That's a mirror of you.
I know we've kind of covered quite a lot of ground today, don't you think? It's been such a beautiful conversation, and I just think, the world has, I think once upon a time it was run in the most beautiful way. The men and the women lived in this beautiful harmony, and I believe we can definitely get back there. But all it's going to take is each and every one of us to be more conscious and to choose that, rather than to choose the status quo, which we've always seen. Oh, we've had that role model too, so we're going to go down that road. It hasn't been working for years. Why are divorce rates higher than ever? Why are suicide rates higher than ever? Why are mental illnesses higher than ever? Why is autoimmune disease higher than ever? Why are people dying left, right, and center? The world has not been run the way it should be run.
Yeah.
So now it's time to go back and to decide how we're going to do it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the one thing you've got to do is be brutally honest with the truth and the facts of your life, not the fairy tale of what you think it could be, what it was, because that's where the ego hides, is in the fairy tale of what something could be or what it was. And taking off the mask will be the scariest thing you ever have to do.
Yeah, this journey is not for the faint-hearted. But you know what?
You're on it anyway.
You've all been brave and you've all been courageous in your life, so you can definitely do it. We've got faith in you.
Definitely.
Oh, thanks, Stacey. It's been great. And listen, guys, send in your questions, because you can hear what these conversations are like. Make them as specific, or you can give us a theme to talk on, because we do see common themes in our work. We see the same things, no matter what the age of people. So whatever's happening in your life or those friends around you, send in your questions. We'd love to answer them.
Yeah, and let us know too if you'd like us to run a private workshop, like on Zoom. Let us know. And where you can actually come into a container and drop your questions in and have a conversation in a safe space. Something Joanna and I have been talking about. So flick me a message, drop a comment, and if there's some interest there, we'd love to put together something to be able to sit down and actually work through some stuff with you guys, or bring up some of the problems that you're having and do it in a safe space. So let us know.
Yay, thank you. And we will be back next week. So keep sending in your questions.